So let's talk about one of the biggest questions in marketing, one that I think we all wrestle with. How do you really know if your ads are working? I mean, are they actually bringing in new customers, or are they just taking credit for sales that were going to happen anyway? It's a question that gets right to the heart of our jobs.
I know, it seems like such a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it's way more complicated than you'd think. You look at your reports, and they're overflowing with clicks, impressions, all that good stuff. But do those numbers really mean your business is growing? Or are they just a tiny, maybe even a misleading piece of the puzzle? And that's really the core of the problem. You know, metrics like return on ad spend or ROAS, they can make everything look great on paper, but they can also be, well, a little deceptive. To really get what our impact is, we've got to dig a lot deeper than just the numbers on the surface.
All right, so first up, let's dive into something I like to call the attribution trap. This is a super common pitfall where we, as marketers, can get totally fixated on metrics that look amazing but don't actually tell us if we're making a real difference. This is where you get caught up in those so-called vanity metrics. You know, the numbers that make our reports look shiny and impressive, but don't really connect to actual business growth. It's so easy to say, hey, that ad got a click and then we got a sale, so the ad caused the sale. But that's not always true. That person might have been on their way to buy from you anyway. So, okay, if the standard way of attributing sales can trip us up, how do we get to the real truth? How do we define our true impact? Well, the answer is in a much more powerful idea, measuring what actually matters. Think about this for a second. Of course not, right? I mean, people get hungry, it's lunchtime, and you can't miss those golden arches. This little thought experiment shows something really critical. Every single business has a baseline, a certain number of sales that are just going to happen organically no matter what you do with your marketing. And that right there, the sales that happen on top of that organic baseline, the ones that happened only because someone saw your marketing campaign, that is your incremental lift. It is, without a doubt, the most accurate way to measure your marketing's true causal impact on the business. And the cool thing is, we're not just guessing here. There's actually a scientific way to do this. You set up a control group. These people don't see your ads at all. Then you have your exposed group, and they do see the ads. You measure the conversion rate for both. And the difference between the two? Boom, that's it. That's your real measurable impact. And a visual like this just makes it all click, right? That first bar? That's your baseline sales from the control group, the sales that happen no matter what. The second bar shows the sales from the group that saw your ads. And that extra bit on top, that lift, that's the proof. That's the value you actually created. But here's where it gets really interesting, because not all lift is the same. The size of your brand, how well known you are, it can totally change what a good incremental lift number even looks like. And this brings us to what we call the scale paradox. So let's just imagine two totally different businesses. On one side, you've got Steve's T-shirts, a brand new online store nobody's ever heard of. And on the other side, you have Coca-Cola, a brand that, let's be honest, everyone on the planet knows. Now, for Steve's T-shirts, pretty much every single sale is going to be incremental. Why? Because nobody knows who Steve is. Every ad he runs is creating brand new demand from scratch. His marketing isn't just helping the business, it's literally building it from zero. But then you've got Coca-Cola, totally different ballgame. They're not really creating new demand. They're just trying to stay top of mind and nudge you to pick them over Pepsi. A 1% lift might sound tiny, but for Coca-Cola, at their massive scale, that 1% is worth millions and millions of dollars. So what's the big takeaway here? You just can't compare the lift of a tiny startup to a global giant. It's apples and oranges. Being great at marketing means understanding where your brand sits, what your baseline is, and then measuring your success against that. It's all about context. Okay, so this is all great in theory, right? But how do we actually put this stuff into practice in the real world? Let's get practical and talk about how you can start to find your own real lift. It really starts with a change in how you think. It's about asking better questions. Instead of just looking at the top-level stuff, we gotta go deeper. Are my campaigns actually driving new demand? Am I creating brand new customers, or am I just grabbing people who were already looking for me? And what's our baseline? What happens if we turn the ads off? So I want to leave you with this one thought. The goal isn't just to have a report that looks good. The goal is to drive real, measurable, incremental growth for the business.
And that whole journey starts the second we stop obsessing about simple attribution and start chasing down our true incremental impact.